What if networking isn't about selling yourself, but about understanding the invisible systems of trust? Most analytical minds fail at building connections because they treat people like data points, missing the emotional code that actually opens doors. Today, we are hacking the psychology of influence. I'll show you how to build a high-value network without ever feeling fake or exhausted. The transactional trap. Why treating networking like a trade deal is the fastest way to fail. A thinker will gasp when a handshake feels like a vending machine exchange. Working in the new Silicon Valley corridor, Alex stumbled upon a recruiter who offered a resume for a coffee, only to be handed a needy text of "please call me." The transaction looks clean on paper, but the real cost runs deep. When every interaction is measured in a one-way bookmark, you plug your time into a pump that offers nothing in return. Social currency is currency that pays dividends. In reality, most people wear the mask trap early on, buying a term for connection that feels like a badge. Imagine a loyalty card that you use on polite nods yet never feels earned. If you treat every follow-up as a fee, you build a network that is an echo chamber of obligation, not opportunity. New hires at a mid-sized consultancy, for instance, say that they felt pressured to return favors before they ever had a chance to showcase skill. The pattern is clear. A trade deal creates a revolving door of one-sided capital, stifling innovation. The trust engine is small, invisible, yet it eventually burns the network. When expectations are set to "you complete this, first we'll finish this," people start to edit their behavior until it resembles stock exchange of compliments. Without genuine curiosity, the engine stalls. A recent case study of a startup that pitched products purely by asking for referrals shows that genuine relationships generate 2.5 times more long-term collaborations. Walking into a conference with a checklist of who can first trade for instantly anchors your focus on credit, not contribution. The connection map should be illustrated like a living organism, not a spreadsheet. When leaders in a growth-hacking firm swapped out project leads for mentoring miles in a throat shrink cost, department morale dipped. They had mapped first connections as a series of links, then turned the map into a calibration tool for performance reviews. By focusing on trade value alone, the organization lost a literally tenfold share of loyalty. Cultivating real ties means ignoring the metric of exchange and instead looking for shared stories, mutual learning, and a sense that your presence will be worth keeping. By recognizing and rejecting the transactional mindset, you free yourself to become a resource rather than a resource seeker. In practice, stop each outreach with a question that digs into the other person's interests, not their need level. Offer a story, ask about theirs. When your conversations shift from a checklist of benefit to an exchange of authentic curiosity, you activate the trust engine. Your connections then grow like a forest, rooted not in gold but in shared soil. Cognitive empathy. How to read the room like a complex system and find the hidden patterns of trust. People say empathy is just a feeling, yet the brain cranks a social navigation system in a blink. Behind the surface, the nervous system records every body shuffle, tone shift, and pause. When a group huddles, a fishing net of signal spreads. One nod, one raised brow can ripple across the entire cluster. These ripples form the social currency that determines who is seen as trustworthy, who feels safe discussing ideas. Internally, the brain runs like a trust engine, weighing thousands of tiny inputs against a shared map of expectations. A slight hesitation in someone's voice can shift the entire connection map toward caution or safety. You might think a handful of gestures explains a room's mood, but the reality is a tangled web. In a coffee shop, two strangers' laughter lines aren't just random. They reflect a hidden choreography of timing, eye contact, and mutual backstory. If you catch a subtle limited expression, like a slight lift of the corner of the mouth, you're catching a real-time update to the trust map. Watching out for the mask trap is also crucial. People often let a polished mask hide their true feelings, so you must look for untidy cues, slumped shoulders, unsteady gaze, quick breath changes. By knowing the mask that most people wear, you pick up opportunities to touch the genuine core. The trust engine runs by pattern recognition, not fortune-telling. When you notice a consistent favor, a colleague consistently offering to grab coffee, or a friend always arriving on time, you slowly calibrate that person's reliability score. Trust isn't a switch, it's a gradient created by repeated, small confirmations. A quick, sincere compliment after a presentation adds a tiny but powerful note to the map. Likewise, a shared personal story, whether light or deep, acts like a signal that tells the engine, "We belong here." The more you tune into the engine's feedback loops, the clearer the hidden credibility patterns become. Practical steps. First, focus on active listening. mirror the person's words, nod, and summarize. That simple act signals attention and ramps up social currency. Second, expose yourself to diverse groups. The more varied patterns you see, the faster your engine learns. Third, hedge risk with reciprocity. Offer small help before asking for help, and watch trust wobble into symmetry. Finally, stay aware of the mask trap. When someone says "first I'm fine" while avoiding eye contact, note the clues and let empathy guide your next supportive gesture. In this way, reading the room turns from gut feeling to a measured science that builds stronger, authentic connections. Value-first strategy, the psychological secret of giving before you ever ask for a favor. Shocking fact, when a stranger hands you a free sample of coffee, 72% of people leave the cafe with a small purchase. The bite-sized generosity sparks a chain of goodwill that feels like a tiny spark in a vast dark room. That spark is the first step of a value-first strategy. In the world of networking, the real game is whose stories become the social currency people trade. A person who passes on useful information speaks to the brain's trust engine. When you help someone solve a problem, correcting a math error in a colleague's spreadsheet, or offering a seasoned analyst's quick read on a trending report, your listener stores a reward. That reward is later recalled when you need a favor, and they can't help but want to activate the engine again. A real example is a data scientist at a tech firm who set up a free internal workshop on machine learning basics. 2 months later, that same group were the first to volunteer when the firm needed quick training for a new division, because they remembered the unexpected gift. Putting the idea on a connection map helps remember the do first rule. Label each contact with what you can genuinely contribute. A brief email on best practice frameworks, a referral to a reliable contractor, or a simple "here's a tool that saved me 30 minutes. By pairing the gift with the person's existing needs, you are not just tossing a lifeline, you are dropping a customized anchor that gains traction effortlessly. Pick a small but meaningful gesture, expect no immediate return, and watch relationships build like vines that intertwine. Beware the mask trap. Offering help with a hidden agenda erodes trust faster than any one-handed demand. Transparency counts. When a marketing manager wrote a blog post with a free downloadable compendium, she explicitly thanked her readers and added a call to action for feedback. The act stayed pure, and engagement rose by 25%, proving the value-first principle isn't a gimmick. It's a principle grounded in real, measurable response. The lesson? Give first, ask later, and let the trust engine settle the rest. The vulnerability paradox. Why showing a glitch in your perfection actually makes people trust you more. A study on workplace collaboration found that when leaders admit a mistake during a meeting, team morale jumps by 15%. Next, observers rate the leader's trustworthiness higher than it did before the blunder. The first human reaction is to see the person not as a distant perfectionist, but as a fellow human who can learn. The glitch, small or substantial, turns the speaker into a real player on the connection map. When people feel a sudden surge of vulnerability, the brain's trust engine fires faster than it would when faced with smooth, flawless interfaces. Better still, the brain watches how the individual reacts: sincere, calm, or defensive. Calm ownership of error signals that the person knows their limits and respects others' views alike. Quiet nods of agreement flow more freely, and the ensuing conversation hits a more empathetic frequency. Think of social interactions as currency. The social currency that most professionals hoard is polish or competence. But a freshly uncovered flaw is like a genuine coin. It's tender, not too expensive, and easy to spend. When you toss that coin toward a colleague, first didn't interpret that dataset correctly, they get a taste of your humanity. The exchange heightens intimacy, and the pair of attention lands exactly where it matters on their social grid. Consider the mask trap. Every unseen mask hides a different set of credentials. The more masks you wear, the farther your partner has to guess your true composition. Step out of the trap by showing a real slip of paper, something like misreading a chart or missing a deadline. Once you lift the mask, you instantly create more room for reciprocal conversation. The people you trust you more are not because you are flawless. They are because you show you're willing to admit, listen, and adjust. An everyday example? A manager who says, "first threw off the project timeline because first missed an email," often receives higher engagement from the team in the next sprint. The stakes are lower, the tea is still hot. Yet the outcome is the same. The team feels comfortable catching their own missteps, reducing the all-or-nothing pressure that often holds them back. Thus, transparency is the secret sauce that moves your professional dish from bland to the rich, hearty stew everyone craves. The long-term system. how to maintain a network of high-level mentors and peers without burning out. Every day, around 6 out of 10 top leaders admit that one strong mentor helped them reach their current floor. That single connection can open doors that otherwise stay closed. Think of it as a ladder with rungs, each rung a person from whom you learn and grow. The longer you climb, the more careful you must be not to lose a rung. The social currency is what you bring to every interaction. If you spend a few minutes listening, offering a quick tip, or simply checking in, you deposit coins into someone else's wallet. Over weeks, those coins accumulate. When you need help, the other side can pull out a big handful. The key is consistency. Short, weekly messages can do more than one grand gesture. Your relationship map shouldn't be a single thread, it's a web. Mark each connection by the value you share and the value you receive. For instance, a senior engineer might share code reviews, while you share market insights. Balance keeps the web strong. If one node starts pulling too hard, you're risking a tear in the network. Burnout emerges when the mask trap takes hold. The mask trap is when you hide your true self to impress or fit in. The trust engine will sputter if you're not authentic. Keep it humming by setting clear boundaries. Decide which people get informal coffee chats, which get formal project invitations, and who receives casual check-ins. Rotate your schedule so no single relationship overshadows the rest. That way, you stay energized, your network stays alive, and your mentors and peers remain true allies. Did you ever notice how a single chat can feel like a secret handshake or a lifeline in a storm? Imagine your brain was a busy trading floor, and every conversation is a trade. Some coins, some knowledge, some trust. If you tune into that rhythm, you can become a networker who moves like a silent broker, always ahead of the curve. Let's recap the game plan in plain words. Social currency matters. Show up with a genuine smile, and you're handing out a valuable token that people want to keep. Feed the trust engine. A quick nod to someone's story sets the wheels turning. Remember, people stick around creators of safe spaces. Carve your own connection map. Think of each meetup as a new street on a city map. Ask questions that lead to highways, not alleyways. Dodge the mask trap. Pretending to be everyone's favorite friend is exhausting and opaque. Real connection is simple, authentic, and usually a little awkward, just like a good joke that lands the first time. When you're in a room of analytical minds, the trick isn't to outsmart the crowd, it's to empathize. By letting curiosity guide you and offering a little of yourself at the start, you'll unlock doors that timelines and metrics alone can't. First, hope you're starting to see that networking isn't a maze of gotchas, but a set of choices you can make on the fly. If this struck a chord, hit that like, drop a comment on how you spent your own social currency this week, and let's keep this conversation going. Drop your questions, spot a future topic, or just share what you'd love to explore next. First VE got a new series coming up where we'll dive into reading bodies under the surface and creating data-driven rapport that feels natural, not scripted. Stay tuned and watch how data meets heart. If you found value, subscribe so you won't miss the next deep dive.